Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be talking about the brand new information that we got for Pokemon Sword and Shield. I really don't want to go over absolutely everything. If you want to see basically all the information and read every line, you can always read it for yourself on the website or watch the trailer. That's not what this video is going to be about. I really just want to go over everything very briefly and give my own thoughts on it. That's why I've got this, just like this kind of format here. I just want to give some visuals while I'm talking about it. So this is going to be a very casual video, more or less. So let's just get started. I guess we'll start with Team Yell, since it's the first thing up. So Team Yell, so first of all, there was a leak on 4chan that basically got all of this, more or less. It got a bunch of stuff from June, and even from July. It knew about Dynamax and Gigantamax. It knew about Yamper, although it spelled it incorrectly, but that's okay. It knew about Chairman Rose and Olina, or Oleana. It knew about a bunch of stuff. And once again, we got more characters and information officially that matches up to that. So that's basically where we're at right now. Team Yell is official. I don't know if I care for the name exactly, although I will say I was a little on the fence with Team Skull when it first came out, so maybe this will grow on me. I guess I don't really care specifically, but I do like their theme overall, and that is that they are basically a bunch of fans, fanboys and fangirls that are just rocking out, and they are cheering for Marnie and getting in the way of all the other trainers that go up against Marnie and are basically competing against her, and they're basically just getting in their way. But Marnie doesn't typically care for them because she's just trying to live her own life. So yeah, with that being said, why don't we go on to Marnie, because that's basically like the gist of Team Yell. So Marnie is one of the rivals, and she is a punk girl, and I honestly was not expecting her to be like this, because in even that leak and a bunch of other rumors that have been floating around, some out there and some private, it seems like the overall idea was that she was kind of more of like an idol, and that's why Team Yell was following her, is because that she's kind of more like idolish. In this case, she's more of a punk girl, and it still fits or whatever because they're kind of a punk group. But it kind of threw me off, but I really like her design. And it turns out that her partner Pokemon, so she doesn't get a starter, that goes to Hop and your other rival that we'll talk about in a minute. But it turns out that her partner is a new Pokemon called Morpeka. Some people have been calling him Morpeka. I prefer Morpeka because I think it's closer to Pikachu, because obviously Morpeka is a Pika clone. But yeah, so her partner is Morpeka, and she's a bit kind of a punk. She's really just she's going for the Pokemon League Championship, but ultimately she kind of just wants to do her own thing, and she has to shoo off Team Yell as they're basically cheering for her, whether she wants them there or not. Also, one thing before I move on from her is that apparently she is a calm and very calculated strategist, so she's really smart and really good at battling. So that's 1 point for her, because a lot of people have been wanting a rival that is super good and can actually give you a challenge, and that seems to be the kind of case with all of our rivals at this point. So moving on, we're going to talk about our next rival, and that's Bede, and he's another character that we learned about from the leak, and it sounds like he got his endorsement, because you need to be sponsored by somebody in order to take part in the league, and he gets his endorsement by Chairman Rose and Oleana. Either way, he seems to have a secret of his own, and a goal, and I think Marnie might have had a goal or something like that that's secret. So everybody's got a secret in this, except for maybe you and Hop. I think Hop's probably the most vanilla and just basic person that we've seen so far. Everybody else has a goal or something that goes beyond just, oh, they want to be a researcher or a champion or whatever. They all have a objective, if you will. But yeah, so he is basically, everybody keeps calling him the, like, mean rival. I do not care for the idea of a mean rival. It happened twice, and that was in the first 2 generations. And on top of that, there was a specific reason for it, and it was because Game Freak wanted to show off personalities that were like big and like easily accessible, because they weren't working with a lot when they were working with the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color, so they needed to make the other characters a bit more crazy. So I don't care for people being like, oh man, another rival that's not like Silver, or another rival that's not like Green or Blue or Gary, whatever. Either way, I don't know why I said Green. But either way, I just don't care for that. And even if he looks like he might be a little conniving, I don't think he will be. I think there's a little bit more to it than meets the eye. And I honestly, even if he is a mean rival, fine, people can have it, but I don't care for that being like... I think my problem is that unless it's a mean rival or a jerk rival, people don't like the rivals, even if they're relatively well scripted or whatever. So obviously it's been hit and miss over the last number of years, but like rivals like Bianca and Charon, they were well scripted. They weren't jerks. So it seems like people they have their rose tinted glasses on and thinking about the two very specific characters. And I'm kind of getting onto a soapbox here, but I'll get off of it now. But yeah, those are the, like, human characters that we got to meet. So those are the three characters. Well, I guess, I don't know, I'm counting Team Yell as a character. Those are the three people, so to speak, that we met. But the real show of this trailer was the Pokemon, and we got not only a new Pokemon, we got a very cute Morpeko. I don't know why I called it Morpek. But we got Morpeko, which we'll go over. But we also got Galarian forms, which is so exciting. It is so exciting because I honestly, like, out of all of the, like, features and mechanics that they could bring forward, regional variants is the one that makes the most sense. So, like, obviously people always want walking Pokemon beside you and whatever, but that's like not necessary. That's a not necessary thing. That has been in 2 games, Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and Let's Go. So that's been in 2 games, and even if it is in this game, fine, great. But like it's not a must. It's just nice. But for variants, regional variants, it makes way more sense to have this, and it just like people say, oh, evolution for Pokemon, but really, like, Pokemon evolution is more of a metamorphosis because it's rapidly happening all at once. But regional variants are actual evolution. It is a Pokemon adapting to its surroundings and changing over thousands, if not millions of years. Probably not millions of years, but like thousands of years, hundreds of years at least. So that's really cool. And the first Pokemon I think I'm going to talk about is we'll go down the line here because we kind of need to build ourselves up to the new Pokemon. And also I said that there was only one new Pokemon, but there's 2. Either way, we have Galarian Weezing, and I actually really like it. It has a smokestack coming out of its hat. It's got green mustaches and beards. It is just a really cool looking Pokemon, and this along with I want to keep saying Alolan. This along with Galarian, Zigzagoon, and Linoon. It's one of those things where it's like I might not have ever thought about using a Weezing before. But you know what? Now I might use it. I mean, maybe not, honestly, but like, I like this design way more than I like its original design. So that's really cool. There's 2 really interesting things about Galarian Weezing. Is that one, it is Poison Fairy type. Well, okay, I lied. 3 different things. So one, that it's Poison Fairy type, and that's really cool because that might be the first Poison Fairy type that we had. Unless I'm wrong, I don't know. If I'm wrong, I'll figure it out in post. But then also that it has a secret ability, and I have a feeling that it's going to be an ability that's tied to another brand new Pokemon. So they probably don't want to reveal it quite yet because maybe that's like that Pokemon's signature ability or something like that, and it's integral to that Pokemon or whatever. I don't know, but it must be important in some capacity. And the third thing is, so regular Weezing takes in toxins, and then it spews out more toxins, and it just does whatever. It's a Weezing. It is all gross gases. Galarian wheezing actually takes in gross toxins and poisons and then spews out clean air and like just like good stuff. So that's actually really cool, and I like that it's like that you'd expect like a smokestack Pokemon of some sort to a smokestack Pokemon that is still named Poison Gas Pokemon. You'd think that it would be like gross and disgusting, but actually it's doing the Galar region a really good service. So that's really cool. And also apparently the mustache and beard that it's got going on its faces are the real like gross stuff, and it's just like it sucks all that gross stuff up and then it gets stuck on its face. So that's you gotta stay away from its face, but it's doing everyone a good service. Moving on, so we'll keep going down this route. So Galarian Zigzagoon. I like Galarian Zigzagoon way more. It is dark normal type. I actually made a tweet saying, hey, which line does the dark normal type better? And it was either between the Alolan Rattata line and Alola. I keep wanting to say Alola, the Galarian Zigzagoon line, and a lot of people are saying Galarian Zigzagoon. I keep wanting to say Alolan, because I'm just so used to this mechanic being tied to Alola. Either way, I really like Galarian Zigzagoon, and again, it's one of those Pokemon that like I probably would never use ever anyways. Like even in a Hoenn based game, I probably wouldn't pick Zigzagoon to use. And I've used normal type like rodent Pokemon before. I used Furret in a replay of Heart Gold, so I really like that, and I think that there is a use for normal type Pokemon, especially against like ghost types. But like this is actually really good because now it's dark type, so it can take on ghost and psychic and all of that. And on top of that, it and Linoone are very resembling Kiss, the band. They got the stars on their faces, they're black and white, they got their tongues hanging out. And one really interesting thing about Zigzagoon is that apparently it is the original, like it's originally from Galar. So that's new lore that we had not known prior. As a Hoenn based Pokemon, you'd think it'd be from Hoenn, but it turns out the original branch of the species originates in Galar, so that's really cool. And apparently these Zigzagoon can just do whatever they want, and they don't have to zigzag and do whatever like that. So that's really cool. Its evolution Linoone is also really cool. Apparently it can run at 60 miles per hour. I don't know if that's something brand new to Galarian Linoone, but it can apparently run at 60 miles per hour and then can tackle a car so much that it like topples over. So that's really kind of crazy. Also apparently in Galar, the Linoone line is pretty popular with angsty kids, angry youths and unhappy kids, and that's kind of like, it's a pretty standard like, oh, you got punks hanging out with these like dark Pokemon or whatever. So that's pretty cool. The most interesting part of all this is like, okay, so I had suspected, based on leaks and rumors and all of that, information that maybe we just kind of had floating around, that there might have been Galarian forms, and that was confirmed. And then there might also be evolutions to older Pokemon. I didn't think that they would be married. I thought that they would be completely separate, and just some Pokemon got Galarian forms, and some Pokemon got brand new evolutions. Turns out they're one and the same in some capacity, and we have a brand new Pokemon, Obstagoon, and he is this big old guy, 5'3", dark normal. He is the blocking Pokemon, and honestly, he is just really cool looking. He is just like this punk. He's definitely based off of a badger, specifically I don't know whether it was a European badger or a British badger or a English badger, a badger in general. So he's clearly based off a badger. And apparently it's like, they specifically say that like Galarian Pokemon, Galarian regional forms, can have unique evolutions. And so specifically with Linoone is that it has such an enhanced surroundings, and it has such intense competition with either predators or other Linoon that it ultimately has to evolve in order to kind of survive. And in other regions, it doesn't have that necessarily. Maybe the earlier routes in all the other regions that it appears are just like, whatever, it's fine. It basically, this is like the opposite evolution kind of thing. So like, obviously evolution is just a change to match your surroundings and adapt. So it's like with like animals that like their ancestors have big claws, and then eventually they whittle down to nothing because they're smarter. Like humans, like, we don't have claws because we don't need claws. Our ancestors grew out of having any sort of like primal like claws and fangs and whatever because we didn't need them. We used our intellect and our brains grew bigger, and we evolved out of using them. So this is like another situation where it's like Zigzagoon that may have migrated to other regions eventually evolved into just plain normal type because they didn't have any problems. Maybe they didn't have any psychic type Pokemon to bug them. My dog's over here. But maybe they didn't have any problems, and so they basically evolved out of needing the dark type, and eventually they evolved out of needing a final evolution. Also, one last thing with Obstagoon, it seemingly has a new attack called Obstruct, which seems like a counter of some sort. Apparently, Obstagoon does not attack first most of the time. He basically eggs people or other Pokemon on to attack first, and then he retaliates. So that's basically Obstruct. We don't know much about it. We just basically have this one image here. So I don't know. We'll find out more about that, I'm sure. But I'm pretty down with Obstagoon. The entire Linoon line. Actually, the entire Zigzagoon line, I'll just say Zigzagoon, I probably would never have used Zigzagoon prior to this, but I might now, honestly, because, you know what, really cool, and if it's an early root Pokemon, or early generally Pokemon, you know what, it could be really useful. Also, one last thing before I move on, so all of them kind of apparently egg other Pokemon and people on, waiting for them to retaliate or whatever. But Zigzagoon specifically tries to get that to happen, but when it does it to people, most people just think it's playing, or that's like just kind of being a little adorable Zigzagoon, and they ignore it, or they like pet it or whatever. And that actually frustrates Zigzagoon because it wants them to attack them. Like Pokemon will usually attack it so that it can like attack back and whatever, but people won't, and it frustrates Zigzagoon because they just think that it's being adorable. Alright, so finally we're gonna hit this last Pokemon. I've already kind of mentioned it's Morpeko, and it is it's the partner Pokemon of Marnie, and it's honestly one of the most interesting things. So it has two forms. It is an electric dark Pokemon. It's called the two-sided Pokemon. And it has a new ability called Hunger Switch, and it is clearly the Pika clone of this generation. It basically has a Pikachu tail on its back. It's not an actual tail because it's I think it's a hamster, which is really cool. I really like hamsters. So that's a really cool Pokemon just in general. But the thing that makes it unique is that it actually has two forms, and they mention that certain Pokemon can change forms based on items or abilities, so maybe more than one Pokemon can do this, or do something similar to it. So basically, it's every other turn, supposedly. I don't know whether there's like modifying things, like if it has a berry and it eats it, it becomes this one mode, but it basically goes between its full belly mode, and then it's hangry, it's angry, hungry mode, and that's a really cute thing. I really, really like that they kind of like, I never thought that I'd use the word hangry to describe a Pokemon, but basically, this Pokemon's always hungry, but when it's prolonged hunger, it changes into this, like, kind of berserker mode, and that's really cool, and supposedly it does this every other turn, and it just kind of, like, swaps back and forth, but it's really, really cute. And also, it has a new move called Aura Wheel, which every time that it changes, so if it's like in its full belly mode, Aura Wheel will be an electric type move, but if it's in its hangry mode, then it becomes a Dark-type mode. So basically, it just kind of swaps for whatever mode Morpeko is. And that's really, really cool. I want to see more of this, not just for Morpeko, but like more like abilities like this, where it's like there are ways of changing Pokemon and having them be unique and different than just, oh, this is what it is, and nothing changes with it. They very easily could have just made Morpeko this adorable Pokemon on the left here, and said done. It still could have been electric type, along with dark type. It could have just been whatever, but they decided to add an additional little bit there as opposed to just giving it something lame like static or whatever. So I'm glad that they did something unique and different with this, but I'm also hoping that maybe there's some more Pokemon like that. Also, look, it has a pocket. It has little pockets that it holds little berries and like berry seeds in, and it's so adorable. So I know I said that I would maybe use Zigzagoon, but maybe I could use Morpeko. Or Morpeko, sorry. I'm trying to learn these names, and Morpeko is very similar to, I guess, Pikachu in general, so I just want to say Pika. Either way, it's an adorable Pokemon, and I love it. I really have no problem with any of the Pokemon that we've seen. Oh, one last thing that I want to talk about really, really quickly, and this is kind of the kind of thing that just kind of like fly by. They didn't cover it at all in the trailer for the English trailer, but they did cover it in the Japanese trailer, and that is Pokejobs. And it's basically like a Pokepelago thing, in a way. Basically, the gist is that you can send Pokemon that are in your box off to do these jobs, and you can do like, oh, construction or helping people or whatever, and supposedly Pokemon and people work together to do these jobs, and you can send them off to go help like just corporations or stores or whatever. So that's a really cool little thing. I want to see more about that. Apparently they can get like experience and different like rewards from it. So depending on what kind of rewards you can get, it could be really, really useful. Also, I imagine it's the kind of thing where it's like you send them off and then you just go about your business or whatever. You go and you battle a gym, or you do whatever you're going to do in general, and then when you come back to your PC, it's all good. Speaking of which, Rotom is also in the PC, so it's Rotami, so I don't know, whatever. I don't really care. Rotom is cool, but as long as they're not doing anything weird with it, I don't know. One thing that is really cool is that they have the Lotto ID in the PC, so that's really cool. I've never been lucky enough to win anything specific from the like lottos that they have, but bringing it back is always good. Well, those are all my thoughts. I think I covered everything. If I didn't, oh well. I really just wanted to get this out there. This is probably going to be a longer video than I even planned it to be. I really planned it to be like, oh, I'm just going to cover things in 5 minutes. That's never how it goes. But I am super, super psyched. Galarian forms are here. Evolution to said Galarian forms. So like normal Linoon cannot evolve, but Galarian Linoon can. So that's really, really cool. Morpeko is really cool. We got it's so much cool stuff, and I'm sure there's going to be way more. Worlds is later on this month. I'm super psyched. Let me know what you guys thought about all of this information down below. Seems like overall people are pretty positive. Nothing too crazy. But let me know what you guys thought down below in the comment section. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you want to see more from me, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell. That way you'll get all the notifications when I upload. I will see you guys in another video. So long!